I started sleeping on the floor around 2 years ago. It was around Thanksgiving time. And I did it as a joke at first. I thought I would get some laughs. I figured out that it's sort of nice and it kept things simple. I can just vacuum the floor instead of making my bed. So I've kept up with it. And it sort of jump started my lifestyle of being very simple and what I call being a minimalist. And I enjoy it. I don't buy a bunch of clothing. I don't pay for haircuts anymore. My friend Peter Garlington cut my hair today, and he's never cut hair before, but hey, it was free, so whatever. I save a lot of money just because I don't really buy anything. I use a library card more than I use a debit card, and I don't even have a debit card, so that's why it's so easy not to use one. I typically carry $3 or less in my wallet, and beyond that, it's just a couple cards. If you were to open it up, all you'd really find out is that I'm allowed to drive a car, I'm a boy, and I have O negative blood. So if you see me on the street, don't try and rob me because you're really not going to get anything. Oh, my voice cracked. Maybe you should include that. So if you ever see me on the street and you think, hey, I want to rob that guy, it's a waste of time because you're not really going to get anything. Oh, I can't do it without cracking. All right. So if you see me on the street and you think, hey, I want to rob that guy, you're going to waste your time because you're not really going to get anything. My mindset behind it has sort of come from two different inspirations. As a Christian, I've read about how the Lord calls us to live a life of loving our neighbors and stuff, and I found that if I'm obsessed with stuff like Pokemon or buying things, that I'm not really good at loving my neighbors, so I just sort of dish that stuff out. And there's this dude named Anton Krupichka who runs ultra marathons, and he used to live in his truck and he'd just run all the time. And I sort of wanted to be like him for a while, and I still do in a way. He has an amazing beard. And I ran this 10-hour race in Paducah, Kentucky, and I ended up going 42 miles, and it was honestly very monotonous because it was on a half-mile horse track, but it didn't really matter because I was able to focus on just one thing. And when the less distractions I have when it comes to having things and stuff that I have to keep up with, since I'm so gregarious, I've sort of taken to languages, and I've studied Spanish and Chinese in high school, and I ended up going to China this summer as sort of a way to study the language through the government and stuff. And when I was there, I was learning a language, but at the same time I was watching these group of people just sort of living their life and keeping it relatively simple. They kind of just ate food and walked around and laughed sometimes. Did this thing like Tai Chi where they would breathe and bend their body. And I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. And so I came back home and I kept sleeping on the floor. I like Spanish a lot better. I think the culture is a lot more interactive and interesting and romantic, to be honest. But Chinese is sort of a useful language in case America crashes and burns. I can just move over there because we owe them so much money anyway. And since 1.3 billion or so people speak it, it allows me to sort of set myself up to get to know a lot of people and sort of use them for my wants.